The smell of sizzling bacon and fresh coffee filled the air in Lou's Diner, a small, dimly lit establishment that had been a staple in Montgomery, Alabama, for decades. Maya Williams, a successful black attorney from Atlanta, walked in after a long day. She was dressed in a sharp navy blue suit, her briefcase in hand. Maya had stopped there on her way back to the city after a court case, hoping for a quiet meal to recharge. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. By the way, what city are you watching us from? Write it in the comments, we're curious. The diner fell silent as Maya entered. Conversation stopped mid-sentence, and all eyes turned to her. The predominantly white patrons exchanged uneasy glances, and a man in his 50s seated near the counter muttered something under his breath. Undeterred, Maya walked confidently to an empty booth and sat down. Emma, the young waitress, hesitated as she approached Maya. "Can I take your order?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Before Maya could answer, a man's voice cut through the air. "We don't serve her kind here." It was Joe Parker, a local farmer with a reputation for being vocal about his beliefs. He stood up, his large frame towering over the room, his eyes filled with contempt. Maya's composure didn't waver, but her mind flashed back to her childhood. Growing up in the South, Maya had faced this kind of prejudice before. At 8 years old, Maya had been the only black girl in her elementary school. One day, her teacher, Mrs. Randall, asked the class to draw pictures of their dreams. Maya drew a courtroom, herself standing proudly as a lawyer. When Mrs. Randall saw the drawing, she frowned. "Maya," she said, "maybe you should pick something else. Being a lawyer is hard work." "It's not really something for," her voice trailed off, but the implication was clear. The other kids laughed, and Maya's cheeks burned with shame. But that moment had lit a fire inside her. She vowed to prove them wrong, and through years of hard work and determination, she did. Back in the diner, the tension was palpable. Maya locked eyes with Joe, her voice calm but firm. "Excuse me?" Joe took a step closer, his voice dripping with disdain. "I said, we don't serve your kind here. You think you can just walk in, dressed all fancy, and act like you belong?" Emma, the waitress, looked visibly uncomfortable, shifting on her feet. "Joe, maybe you should sit down. She's a customer." Joe turned to her, his tone sharp. "Don't tell me what to do, girl. I'm just saying what everyone's thinking." Maya leaned back in her booth, folding her arms. "I'm just here for a meal. If you have a problem with that, it says more about you than it does about me." As the confrontation escalated, the diner's owner, Lou Sanders, came out from the kitchen. A stout man in his late 60s, Lou had run the diner for over 40 years. "What's going on out here?" he asked, wiping his hands on a towel. Joe turned to Lou, his voice rising. "This woman doesn't belong here, Lou. She should take her business elsewhere." Lou sighed heavily, looking between Joe and Maya. "Joe, sit down," he said, his tone firm. Joe looked stunned. "What? You're taking her side?" Lou nodded. "That's exactly what I'm doing. This is my diner, and everyone is welcome here. If you don't like it, you can leave." Joe sputtered, but Lou's unwavering gaze silenced him. Reluctantly, Joe grabbed his coat and stormed out, muttering under his breath. The diner slowly returned to its usual rhythm. Emma brought Maya her order, her hands trembling slightly. "I'm so sorry about that," she said softly. Maya smiled. "Thank you, Emma. And don't worry, it's not your fault." Lou came over to Maya's table, his expression apologetic. "I'm sorry you had to deal with that," he said. "People around here, they don't always change as quickly as they should." Maya nodded. "I understand, but change starts somewhere. Thank you for standing up for what's right." Over the next few weeks, word of the incident spread throughout the town. Some people criticized Lou for his stance, but many others applauded his decision to stand against prejudice. Maya continued her work as an attorney, her resolve strengthened by the encounter. The experience reminded her that progress was never easy, but it was always worth fighting for. Lou made changes too. He put up a sign in the diner window that read, "Everyone welcome here." It was a small gesture, but it symbolized a step forward. As for Joe Parker, he avoided the diner altogether, his pride too wounded to face the community that had started to change around him. Maya would think of that night often, not with anger, but with hope. It was a reminder that even in the smallest places, courage and kindness could spark transformation. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like this video to show your support.